So, hello, namaste, namaskar, good afternoon, good morning, or maybe even good evening, in whichever part of the world you are joining us from. My name is Deepakar Khemani, and I am one of the co founders of Bloom. It gives me great pleasure. It gives me great pleasure in welcoming you all to this 249th non-stop Sunday Bloom Talk Show.
Wow.
Come rain or shine, online or offline. Every Sunday for the past 249 weeks, we have been live. We have been speaking with people. We have been speaking with change makers. We have been speaking with people all across the globe. In fact, every continent of the world has been represented on our show. Every continent, be it the Americas, Europe, Africa, Asia, Australia, and Antarctica. We have a scientist who's been to Antarctica twice and he's been on the show. So each and every continent of this world has been represented here. Continuing that tradition, continuing that series, we have a very special guest with us here today. She's joining us live from London. We have with us Edmēe Mendonca. Let me officially welcome Edmēe to the program, and I'll just read out a little bit of who she is and what she does, and then we will understand from her why she does this, how she started doing, and how is she able to bring about change. So she is a public speaking and anxiety expert. She helps individuals turn fear into confidence and transform stage fright into self expression. Who doesn't want to be doing that? Her approach is holistic, combining evidence based techniques with creative and embodied practices. She says she stammers when she speaks and uses breathing techniques to speak fluently. She is the president of the Professional Speaking Association London region, co-author of a book, Me No Pause, keynote on how a stammerer became a professional speaker, and her masterclass is called Step into Your Confidence. Thank you, Edmēe, for joining us and welcome to the program.
Introduction, Deepak. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And as we were, talking amongst ourselves just in the pre-show when we were starting, we are talking today about the stress paradox. So first tell us, why is stress a paradox? Because we all now take it to be as a part of our lives, a part of growing up. In fact, children are nowadays stressed. So what is happening and why do you call it a paradox?
So I think stress is everywhere nowadays, and I just want to talk about the difference between stress and anxiety, because I think
Yeah.
sometimes we blend the two and they're quite separate. Like stress is the bodily response to a real threat. So if there's a snake in my path, or there's a lion in my pathway and it's hungry and it wants to eat me, my body will start giving out adrenaline to either fly or fight. Now, when I'm constantly thinking about that lion, that's anxiety because
Hmm.
my body is still giving out the hormones that is not really needed to fly or flight, to fly or fight, but but I'm still thinking about the threat, and so I'm anxious about it all the time. So whether it's an exam that I'm doing, or a presentation that I have to do before someone, or it's something that's happened in the past that's really annoyed me, I'm constantly in a state of anxiety. And I think our modern world is so uh, stress related now because everything seems to be causing us stress.
So, stress, anxiety, in your introduction, you mentioned, which I read that out, that you were a stammerer and now you are
Yeah.
the president of the Speaking Association. How does that happen? How does a stammerer conquer that and then become who you have become? Tell us that story.
I can't believe it myself actually where I've reached from where I was, but I think it's really persistence and just focusing on the solution rather than the problem. And I think when we're stressed, it's important to understand the problem. So I understand I have a stammer, but then I started looking for solutions. So I did lots of public speaking courses when I was in my teens. I um, I would stand up and speak every opportunity I got because I thought maybe I'm scared of people, and that's the reason why I'm stammering. But actually, it was something deeper. It was something to do with my vocal cords. That was, yes, it was stress, it was anxiety, but I just needed to relax my vocal cords. And when I was doing my psychology degree, which I did in St. Xavier's College in Mumbai, we had a 1 year course offered to us in yoga. And that's where I learned to breathe. And now I feel breathing is my best friend. I can turn to it in times of trouble and it will give me guidance and consolation. And this is what I say to my clients. Breathing is your best friend. When you're stressed, you just need to be in touch with your breathing and everything goes the way that you want it. Because really what we need is when we're in an anxiety situation or in a stressful situation, our thoughts are racing and we can't think clearly. So when we pay attention to our breathing, it just makes us more centered, more calm, and we're able to think clearly. So that's what I learned in these yoga sessions. And also there is a scientific explanation for this as well. So sometimes you think breathing, it's all woo woo, and yeah, what's all that about? But really, if we think about it, if we're not breathing, we're not alive. So our
Yeah,
breathing is really such an important part of being alive.
yeah.
And now they have scientifically proved that the vagus nerve, which runs through from our brain through to our throat and through to our heart and lungs and through the intestines, is actually if we stimulate that vagus nerve, we are able to become calm. And how do we stimulate the nerve? By breathing.
Breathing.
And really, it's very easy because sometimes you think, oh, you've got to do some really hard exercises. And you don't really. All you need to do when you're in a stressful situation, this is what I do. When I know I have to go before an audience and I have to speak, I just sit in a calm place for a minute. That's all it takes. And all I do is I become aware. So I become aware now. Now I'm breathing in. Now I'm breathing out. And if I do that for about a minute and take all my thoughts away, because my thoughts are really creating the feelings, and the feelings then create the action. So if I take my thoughts away and I say, okay, I'm going to talk to you later because my thoughts will come to me. Oh my God, are you sure you're going to remember your speech? There's so many people in the audience. And what if someone doesn't understand you? So I just park my thoughts. I just say, okay, fine, I've prepared, I've practiced, and I'm going to trust myself. So so I guide my thoughts away from what is troubling me, and I really lead my thoughts. So I think of myself as a leader, and I teach my clients how to do that as well. You're a leader. So, how are you a leader? You lead your thoughts. You don't follow your thoughts. Because if I follow my thoughts, oh my God, am I prepared? I don't know what I'm going to say next. And I don't know if my words are going to come out or if my stammer is going to come out again.
Mm,
But if
mm,
I'm calm and I say, I lead my thoughts, I lead my emotions, and I lead my actions, and I come back to my breathing and I trust myself. So, whatever I'm going to do next, whether it's an exam, it's a presentation, or it's a difficult conversation that I'm going to have with someone, I trust myself. And that's what I constantly do, Deepak, actually, even now, because my stammer hasn't gone,
mm.
it's there, but I manage it. So when I know it's going to come out, I just take a step back, breathe, and I trust myself. Because we're very quick to trust other people.
Yeah,
But how about trusting yourself?
yourself. Yes, yes. You just now told us, when I feel the stammer is coming back, I'll, just trust myself. I'll just go back a little. I'll take a deep breath and then probably carry on. At what point do you realize the stammer is coming? you know, in your head, or you want the stammer to actually be audible or visible for you to realize, no, 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 I'm stammering again.
A stammerer knows when they're going to stammer actually, because
Yeah,
you just get that sudden feeling like your throat is just constricted,
yeah.
and there are certain words as well, like M. For me, it's M.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
so when I was young and I was a student, I couldn't say miss to my teachers, so I would have to practice it in my head and it would come out like miss.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I know I'm going to, if I feel like my stammer is going to come out, I just stop. Even though I'm on the stage, I just stop. And it's about being in control of yourself, isn't it? It's being in control of your body. It's being in control of your mind, rather than our mind is just, we're following our mind. So we
Yeah.
follow our fears and we say, oh God, oh God, this is really bad. I don't know what's going to happen next. Like I know when we're sick, say for instance, during COVID, I had clients who would come to me and say, I've got a sore throat. I think I'm going to fall sick. I think I've got COVID. I think if I've got COVID, then I'm going to be taken to hospital. If I get taken to hospital, then my family won't be able to see me. If my family won't be able to see me, what's going to happen? How are my children going to be fed? Because I can't cook for them. I'll be away. And if the doctors can't heal me, then I'm going to die. If I die, then how are my children going to grow up? So this is what happens to us when we're stressed, right? Our thoughts are just spiraling and we're following them.
Yeah.
We're saying, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? So rather than just say, no, stop, actually, just stop. No, I'm not going to go that way. Let's see what happens. I have faith in the doctors. Maybe this is just a sore throat and nothing else.
Yeah.
And you calm
Well,
yourself down like that because you
Yes.
read
I
your
have
thought.
a
Yes,
comment
you have
to
to.
add. Can I, Edmēe? This is Satish from Chennai.
Yes. Hi.
So
Hello.
what we'll do, Satish, is since you've already unmuted yourself, please go ahead and say or ask. But we'll keep the question and answers towards the end once we've finished with speaking with. But go ahead, Satish. Go ahead.
I will just take half a minute,
Go
Deepak.
ahead, please. Yeah, yeah.
See, I think the whole fundamental thing that comes to mind is if you are able to do your breathing in a very systematic, slow, and measured manner, automatically the thoughts also slow down considerably. And you will find your anxiety also comes down considerably. You will have better control over your thoughts. It's not that the mind should be controlling you. You should be regulating your mind. So through proper breathing, what happens is all of us breathe very shallow. Breathing is very shallow for every human being on this earth. We need to do deep breathing. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Satish, for sharing your thoughts. Would you like to add to what Satish said, Edmēe?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I agree. I think breathing can slow down your thoughts. And I'm an example of that because I'm doing that every day. And and especially during stressful situations, but thoughts still come in. So what I teach my clients to do is how to manage those thoughts,
Hmm.
because sometimes thoughts can spiral, and although we're breathing and we're getting calm, thoughts are still sometimes there. And the way I do that is I ask them to think about three things that they're grateful for, because when we're in a situation of gratitude, then anxiety slows down tremendously,
Yes.
because sometimes we don't really realize what we have. We have so
Yeah.
much. We have
Yes.
good relationships, we have good health, we have we have fun and laughter. We've got so much, and we don't bring that to our mind, especially when we're
Hmm.
in a stressful and an anxious situation.
Yes.
So while I'm breathing and while I'm just paying attention to my breathing, because there are lots of ways of breathing, and yoga is such a beautiful science because it gives you all the different ways in which you could actually really be in control of your body and mind.
Yes.
And there's deep breathing, there's anulom vilom, which can even, low down your blood pressure. And I think India is such a great storehouse of knowledge in that way, because I think the ancient Indians were so um, so knowledgeable about their mind and their body and afterlife and even in this life.
Yeah.
So, but I think by bringing your mind to the things that you're grateful for,
Yeah.
your anxiety just melts
Yeah.
completely, because you come into the present moment, because that's something else that we're not in the present moment, right? We're
Yeah.
either regretting something we've done in the past or we're worrying about the future. So we're very rarely in the present moment. So
Yeah.
gratitude and paying attention to your breathing brings you into the present moment. And when you're in the present moment, you're really able to step into whatever's going on, accept it, because that's another thing we're doing. We're not accepting reality. We're saying, oh, I shouldn't be sick. I should be at work. How am I going to pay my bills? Or, oh my God, I hate presenting.
Yeah.
I don't want to present. Why do you have exams? Children are always saying, why do we have exams? Yeah, so we're resisting the present moment.
Yeah.
So rather than resist the present moment, being appreciative of what you have and paying attention to your breathing brings you into the present moment. So you can step into the present moment, accept it, learn from it, and move into the next moment with confidence. So,
Wonderful. Thank you, Satish, for bringing up that point, and Edmee for clarifying it. And, since we are talking about fear, we are talking about anxiety, we are talking about stress. I want to ask you this, Edmee, since you say that you used to stammer and it still happens. I want to take you back, 25, 30 years, that, 7, 8-year-old Edmee, who is unable to call her Miss, and, she's stammering. How easy or how difficult is it for that child? And, how do you then overcome all these emotions? Who was your anchor? Who taught you? Who handheld you?
I didn't have anybody to hand hold me, actually. Yeah. It's interesting, actually. You made me think back, quite a long time. And, I don't want to feel sorry for Edmēe, who was 8 years old, because I think Edmēe, who was 8 years old, was very strong. And I'm just going to take a moment here because it's really made me.
Yeah, take that sip of water. You have that glass next to you. Yeah, I'll join you.
Oh, thank you, Deepak, for asking me a question like that, because I feel that, sometimes we forget where we were and
Yeah,
where we are now, and the
yeah,
big bridge there has been in the middle, that
yeah,
and the small little things that you have to you have to embrace every day to just face the day, which for me communication was really difficult.
yeah,
And even now, when I come into a room full of people that I don't know, it's still daunting, because I think, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to start a conversation, because it takes me back to when I stammered, because I feel communication for me still is really, really difficult. Because
yeah,
even though now you look at me and you say, oh, you speak very fluently, because a lot of people say to me, oh, you shouldn't say you stammer because you speak so fluently. But really,
yeah,
communication is a challenge. It is a
yeah,
challenge. And I think that my 8-year-old self was such a strong 8-year-old self, determined and really looking for answers, doing one thing after another to just try and overcome it. And really, what I realize now, you asking me that question, Deepak, is that I don't really need to overcome it. I need to embrace it and
yeah,
understand that that's part of me, actually. That's me. That's
yes,
part of me. That's my
yeah,
authentic self. And
yeah,
I need to just embrace it and say, that's me. And oh, it's been a good part of me, because it's taught me to face challenges.
mm,
It's taught me that there are really good people in this world. Because I remember, I don't know whether you remember, far back in the 1980s, there was the Nazareth Speakers Academy in Bombay.
yes, I remember. There used to be boards and
And
stickers
yeah,
everywhere. Yes,
And he was such a lovely man. He, because I went there to get rid of my stammer and it didn't go. So he said to me, if you want to carry on coming, you don't have to pay for anything. Just carry on coming till you feel confident your stammer's gone. And
Wow.
I went there for years, and my stammer never went because
Mhm.
my stammering was not about public speaking. It was about anxiety. And I
Yeah.
learned to breathe. When I did my master's in ancient Indian culture, because I decided to do my master's in ancient Indian culture, because after I did yoga, I just loved the whole system of yoga and how it worked. And
Yeah.
because I come from Goa, and Goa is very, European in the way I was brought up,
Yeah. Yes.
I found the Hindu culture really fascinating, and I thought I've got to do a master's in it. And when I did a master's in ancient Indian culture, I realized the wealth there was around the mind and around the body and around breathing. And the scientific, Ayurveda and the scientific ways in which you can actually deal with your stress, because sometimes stress can be a chemical that you lack in your body, and how
Yeah.
eating a thali of food has got all the nutrients that you need that satisfies your tongue, which is
Yeah.
the sour and the bitter, the sweet, the savory, and how if you have a balanced diet, really all the chemicals in your body are balanced, and your anxiety can also decrease like that. So it's such a wealth of understanding, and I think that learning for me is such an important thing as well, because the more I learn, the more I understand how much I don't know and how
Yeah.
much there is to learn. So I
Yeah.
think to go back to your question, 8-year-old Edmei was resilient, focused on making sure that I got rid of my stammer, and very consistent because I try to look for answers all the time. And I think if we do that in our life, if we face our challenges rather than run away from them, then we learn so much.
Yeah, in fact, I'd go to this length and say that, if that 8-year-old Edmee didn't stammer, she probably wouldn't have become the president of, the Speakers Association of London. What say, Edmee?
Absolutely. I agree. I
Absolutely.
agree.
Wonderful, wonderful. So again, there is this child who is growing up and, has this fear of stammering. Then there is stress, which is induced, and then there is anxiety. How does one, you clearly mentioned at the beginning of the program that all three feelings are actually different. So how do I then compartmentalize this or solve this problem? Or there is this universal one shot solution. Let me go into breathing mode. Let me go into gratitude mode. Let me count all the gifts life has given me. And lo and behold, you are back to normal. Does it work like that? Yeah.
No, I think everyone is different. So I think for some breathing works, for some laughter works, and I learned laughter yoga in Bombay when it started out in the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I've started showing my clients how to use art to express themselves, but to express their stress. But I think that it's very individual. So what I say to my clients is, think about what you love doing. What takes you into a creative mode? Because when we're stressed, we're not in a creative mode, we're in an anxious mode,
Yeah.
right? So we need to
Yes.
get ourselves into a creative mode. So it's either breathing that can get you into a creative mode, or you may want to go for a walk in nature, because I think nature is another very beautiful way of really connecting with the earth, because we are on the earth. We're having an earthly experience. And when we put our feet on the earth and we're actually walking and we're seeing the beautiful trees, and there are so many places. I think Mumbai now is got such beautiful parks, and it's on the sea. You can walk on the beach, and or you can go anywhere. You can go to I love going into the woods. And I have a dog, and I take her for a walk every morning into the woods. And when I enter the woods, I feel like I'm getting a hug, because it's all trees all around me, and the beautiful smell of oxygen. I can hear the birds, and my mind becomes free. So some people may
Yeah.
like to walk in nature, some people
Yeah.
might want to walk on a beach, some people might feel like I'm sporty, I'd like to play a game of tennis. And when I play a game of tennis, then I can be calm. Now, my son used to swim, and he used to say, whenever I swim, I said, what do you like about swimming? And he said, every time I swim, I forget all my problems. So some
Hmm.
people may like swimming, yeah, because you're really focused and you're thinking, I've got to get from A to B, and your mind sort of calms, takes away all those, worrying thoughts, and you're able to suddenly get a solution for
Yeah.
what you're thinking is a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think everyone is individual, and when I work with my clients, I'm very focused on making sure that an individualistic approach is applied, because
Yeah.
some people may like to breathe, some people may want to laugh, some people may want to walk, some may want to swim. It's individual.
So, that background of yours says, public speaking and managing stress and exam stress and confidence building, academic success and etiquette training. What are the typical problems, most common problems or fears or anxieties you see in people who come to you, and how are you then able to help them?
I think the need of the hour is public speaking at the moment for adults, and
Yeah.
for young Gen Zs who are coming into the job market. And for children, it's exam stress. I think so. If I compartmentalize it, for children, it's exam stress because they're always scared of exams. And for adults, for young adults and for older adults, it's speaking before people, it's communication. And for both of them, I say to them, very important to prepare. So when you're studying for an exam, or you're doing a presentation, prepare. Like, I think it was Edison who said success is 99% perspiration and
Yes,
1%
yeah, one,
inspiration. Yeah.
yeah.
So if you prepare, then
Yeah,
that takes away half your anxiety.
yes,
Then, after you prepare, you go to practice. So, if children are doing exams, do practice papers. If you're doing a public speaking event, I'd say stand before a mirror, record yourself, just practice, practice, practice. And after you do those two things, trust yourself. You have to trust yourself because you've prepared, you've practiced, now you start doing the exam, and you trust when you open the paper, your mind is going to give you the answers that you've
yeah,
practiced for. And when you're doing a presentation, your mind is going to give you all that energy and confidence you need to be clear, to be confident, and to deliver successfully. So
wonderful.
yeah, so I think these two are the main pain points
So,
of our,
yeah,
our generation.
now you, I'm sure, get a chance to listen to top speakers, people who are at the top of their game. What differentiates these people from somebody who is just another speaker or probably an aspiring speaker? What is it that makes them be where they are?
It's these two things, preparation and practice. They do a lot of preparation and a lot of practice. And then of course you just it's sort of getting rid of the fear of the unknown, because all of
Hmm.
us have this fear of the unknown. We think, oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? But just trusting that whatever happens, you have the confidence to deal with it. So many
Yes.
times on stage, my speakers may come up and their equipment may not work. Like your clicker may not work, and you want to turn to the next slide,
Yeah.
and your clicker is not working.
Yes.
Or you may forget your talk. You may forget some bits of your talk. Yeah. So it's really okay for you to say, look, you know what, my clicker's not working. I just need a moment. Yeah. Or if you've forgotten part of your speech, you can say, oh, I've forgotten what I've said, what I've prepared. And it's really okay because it gives the
Yeah.
audience a feeling that you're human, right? Otherwise, you're just perfect. You're standing up on stage and you're doing this perfect speech
Yes.
and nothing goes wrong. But if things do go wrong, you can just manage them, and that's perfectly fine. So in exams, what I say to my to children who come to me, that sometimes you're so stressed out, and being in exam conditions can be very big state of anxiety, because you have a time limit, and you've got, and sometimes you may forget, and you look at the question and you think, I know exactly what to write, but I can't remember. So what do? You say, fine, I won't do this question now. Let me do all the other questions. And as you're calm and you carry on, everything's back. It's being calm. It's being in a space where your thoughts are not interfering with you trying to solve the problem, whatever the problem may be, the challenge.
Yes.
I hope that's
Every
answered your
time you are
question.
going up on a stage, it's another exam. Yes,
It
yes,
is.
yes. And I just from what you said, every time you are going up on stage, it's another exam. If there is another time limit, there is another subject on which you are going to speak and connect with the audience. Every time it's an exam. So we are halfway through our program, and I see there are quite a few comments in the chat box. So what I'll do is I'll just read out a few of them, and then I'll ask people to unmute themselves and probably ask you questions now, and then I'll join in again later. So yes. So Lata asks, how does one handle stress regarding financial pressure in business?
So I think that it's quite a broad question, actually, and it depends on what the financial pressure is. But I think you've got to be consistent in trying to understand the problem clearly. Once you understand what the problem is clearly, then you think about what do you do next. And it's really all about what do we do next, isn't it? You don't need to solve the whole problem.
Yeah.
You just need to know the next step. And when you're in this state of calm and you're in this state of understanding your mind and how it's going and how to keep it out of troubling thoughts, you just need to be focused on understanding what's the problem regarding your finances. Is it that you don't have enough finances? Is it that you need to earn more? Then, I think it's a rather broad question for me to answer, but I would say have a chat with me after maybe, and I can help her with it. Yeah.
So
Because
Lata,
rather than me
after the
say, give a
program,
generic
yes,
answer, I just give a generic
yes,
answer.
you can actually reach out to her and probably explain it in detail, and she can give you a right answer, probably a right solution. Anybody else, please go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question. At this point, Brigadier Sir, if you are free.
So, Deepak,
Yes.
it's just a coincidence that I just had a post in the morning on LinkedIn, just random thoughts, and it was all about de-stressing by just being grateful and meditating and taking a pause and laughing and smiling. And it's just the same thoughts what uh, have been said throughout. So it's just a
Yes.
great coincidence.
Yeah. So for your information, Edmēe, this is Abhijit Sansgiri, and he's the third member of our team of Bloom. So we are three people. It's Payal, me, and Abhijit. So he was saying that for some reason, both of you were on the same plane, or it was a day which coincided, and he said exactly the same things you are telling us in this show. So thank you, Abhijit, for sharing that. Brigadier Sir.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, everyone.
So first of all, thank you so much for introducing Edmēe to us. Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
No, I don't have any question. I was just agreeing with her in everything that she was saying. And it did bring in a lot of reflections in my own life where and I really love that last thing that she did, next step. So when you focus only on the next step, like for example, Lata's talking about financial thing. So what is my next step? Do I need to get more clients? Then just focus on that. Okay, I need to get more clients. Or you think that you get clients, but you're not able to really convince them, or your subject is not relating to them. Then your next step could be, okay, I need to brush up my subject. I need to get a little more deeper into it professionally. Or is it that I need to focus on another subject which is in demand in the market? So like what Edmēe said was, financial problem can be a huge umbrella, but in that, what is your next step? And I realize what she said is, every time, whether it's a problem solving thing, whether it's in your career, anywhere, just focus on that one step, because there's a beautiful example that if you're driving a car at night, let's say you're driving from Bombay to Pune, You can't see Pune when you start.
Yes.
All that you see is a span of 200 meters of your headlight.
Yeah.
And you move 1 inch forward, you'll see 1 inch more of that light. And
Yes.
therefore, that is the next step what I'm
Yes.
referring to and what she's talking about. So
Yes.
let's see what is the next step. That was very, very powerful statement. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Brigadier Sir. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Ayel, do you have a question for Edmēe?
Yes,
Go
so
ahead. Yes.
thank you, Edmēe, for joining in from London and gracing the Bloom platform. It's a 249 talk show. We are just one episode away to achieve our milestone of 250 non-stop Sunday talk shows from 250 weeks. And we know what are the challenges and what are the easy games we have gone through since the past 250 weeks. Only our team knows about it. And thank you all the audiences. Because of you all, Bloom exists. So my question to you is, Edmēe, how do we see the conversations around stress evolving in the coming years, especially for the Gen Zs, not the millennials, Gen Zs and the alphas, especially with the increasing societal demands?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good question, actually, Payal. I think that it's really important for us to understand that there is a way of dealing with anxiety and stress, because a lot of us just think, oh, we're stressed, that's fine. That's just part of life. And then we just start taking medicines and tablets to bring down our blood pressure and other things to bring down the cholesterol. And we're just sort of like taking pills when really we should be going to the source of the problem. So I think it's really important for our young generation and the older generation, actually, and all people,
Yeah.
to be clear that there are solutions and to have an open mind about how to deal with your stress.
Yeah.
Because there's no one size fits all. We're all human in a very different way. We're all having a different experience because the way we are brought up is differently. The way that we connect is different. How we look at connections and how we deal with business and we deal with work is different. So we need to find our own personal way of dealing with stress. And there are lots of ways out there. We just need to find our way. And once we do that, then challenges are not going to go away. Like, to come back to what Lata was saying about business. I've been in business since the time I was 17. That's when I started my first public speaking course for young students at St. Xavier's College. Not in the college, but I took the students from the college and I used to hire the YMCA in Colaba. And I was there for years before I came to the UK. And I know business is always up and down. So some days you're going to get the clients, some days you're not going to get the clients. So as long as you understand that, and then you have another funnel of trying to bring your income in, the stress of not having clients, you can deal with. Yeah, but as long as your purpose is clear, like my purpose is so clear that I want to help people in communication. I want to help people to better their communication, their public speaking skills, and their ability to connect and to communicate with people. And very importantly, how to learn to connect with themselves, because I think that's the first thing that we need to do. And I think your question, Payal, about how are we going to deal with stress in this day and age? We'll need to have a conversation with ourselves first. Who am I? What do I like? What are my skills? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? I need to understand who is me. Who is me? Once I know who I am, then I know how to communicate with myself when I'm stressed. I know what I need to do when I'm stressed. Like I said to you, I go into the woods and I feel like I'm getting a hug. So when I'm stressed, I'm out in the woods because I know that's where I'm going to get calm. Because we all get stressed, don't we? Nobody knows the way. Nobody knows exactly how to live this life. We're all finding our way. We're all trying. And I think getting to know who you are is the first step. And I want to share here, I think it was Bob Proctor that made this these words famous, but I think it was Bill Gove, or maybe I'm wrong as to who was this person that really started said these words, and they are, if I've got to be free, if I want to be free, I've got to be me, not the me I think my wife or my husband wants me to be, not the me that my children want me to be. If I've got to be free, I've got to be me. So I better know who me is. Because if I don't know who me is, then how am I going to function, right? So if I know that this is going to stress me out, so I need to go and I need to be prepared. Like, sometimes thoughts come up for a reason, right? If I haven't studied for my exam, if I haven't focused on doing my presentation, my mind is going to say to me, come on, what are you doing? You've got a presentation next week. You need to do this.
Agree.
Otherwise, you're going to fail. So start working. So sometimes thoughts come up for a reason. So you can say, oh, thank you. Thank goodness my thoughts are there. Thank God my mind is actually supporting me. So you start working on your presentation. But if you've worked on your presentation, you've practiced, you prepared, then if suddenly thoughts come up and say, oh, I wonder how you're going to do now, and I hope the audience understands your jokes, and what if they don't laugh at
Yes.
your jokes, then that's waste thoughts, right?
Very.
So you don't want to entertain them in your mind. You say, go away. Excuse me, what are you doing here? Out. Just exactly as if somebody entered the door of my house and they were trying to rob me, I'd defend my house, right? I'd say, excuse me, out. You can't come in. So at the door, you've got to stop those thoughts. Because if you let them enter, that's it. Then they start taking root and they start turning into trees and bushes and oak trees, and then you can't uproot them. Then it's very difficult to uproot them. You can still uproot them, but it takes longer. But if you stop them at the door, out. So to answer your question, get to know yourself, understand your strengths and your weaknesses, and have a purpose. I think having a purpose in your life can really help you focus on the purpose, and then all these waste thoughts and all these other things are not really that important. And I think focusing on stress is like the story about Arjun. I tell the story about Arjun and it's so well received. How he went into the jungle with Dronacharya, and like all the other children went in ancient India to study. I'm sure you all know this story anyway, but I think it's such an important story because he went into the forest to study, and Dronacharya was teaching them archery, and he put the parrot on the tree, and he stood the boys in line, and he said, "Your target is the eye of the parrot." And he stood them in line, and he said, the first boy, he said, "What do you see?" He said, "I can see the parrot, I can see the trees, I can see the clouds, I can see the vegetation in the distance." So he said, "You're not ready, go to the back of the line." The next boy said, "Oh, I can see the parrot, I can see the branches, go back." When Arjun was asked, Arjun said, "I can only see the eye." That's what we need to do when we're stressed, when we're anxious. We need to only look at finding solutions. You only need to understand the problem till you understand the problem. You don't need to go over it and over it in your head. That conversation goes on again and again. You need to focus only on the
Yes.
solution. And if you focus only on the solution, and this is with everything, it's not just anxiety, it's for anything you're doing in your life. If you focus only on your goal, then you know everything that's not your goal, out. It's binned straight away. It's like cleaning your house. What do you need in your house? You just need order. Everything else is in the bin. In the same way, we need order in our mind. So I hope I've answered your question, Pooja.
Absolutely, Edmēe. Thank you so much. Over to you, Deepak sir.
Thank you,
Payal, not
Payal.
Pooja.
Yeah.
I've said I said Pooja, Payal.
That's fine. It happens.
Yeah, there isn't a lot of
Sorry.
difference between Payal and Pooja, but theek hai. Yeah. So let's move on, and just share with us a few real life examples, some clients whom you have, coached or helped or guided to become better, especially in the public speaking space.
So I think I get a lot of clients right now, even in the public speaking. I think 90% of my clients come due to public speaking anxiety, and I think it's a very real fear, a real. I think most people. I think there is a statistic that says that after the fear of a loved one, public speaking is the next fear. So yeah, I have a lot of senior leaders now who are coming in for public speaking coaching mainly because it's the fear of judgment, I think, isn't it? So it's senior leadership, Gen Zs, and even younger people who are feel that when they stand before people, they don't want to be judged. So regardless of what they're speaking about, they don't want to be judged. So what I say to them is, look, people are going to judge us. That's just part of being alive. you know so we've just got to understand that people are going to judge us. We just have to brush things out, dust it off if it's not relevant, and if it's relevant, take it on. So this is what I say to my clients, that sometimes things are relevant. Feedback is the breakfast of champions, really. So when people come to you and say to you, I welcome feedback. I feel like if you can come and tell me I can do something better next time,
Yeah.
I want to know how I can do it. So this is how I help. And I think the older we get, the more set we get in our ways. Because from my own experience, I think when I was starting out at 17, I had a lot more confidence than when I was starting out again a couple of years ago after I had my son. So first of all, I moved countries. That I felt was the biggest challenge, because then it's like, even though I speak English and English is my first language, it's a new culture and everything is different. So adapting to that took time. Then I had my child, and he's 18 now, and he's at university. And I took a break, and I've come back into the world, so a world of speaking again. And I just feel that the older we get, and I'm coaching a lot of senior leaders. The older we get, the more we feel like we've got to get it right, because we feel like we're older now. We should know how to do this, and we should be perfect at it.
Yeah.
But what I say to all my clients, like, whether they're young or they're older, is that it's not perfection. It's doing your best, really. And the only thing you can do is do your best and being authentic with it. Yeah, just being authentic. Sometimes things are going to go wrong. Sometimes our communication is not going to get right. But
Yes.
there's ways of just, saying, okay, I'm human. I made a mistake. As long as 90% of the time I'm doing it right,
Yeah.
it's okay if 10% I'm not doing it right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And with children, I think children are more easy, because they're a blank slate, and they take on whatever you say with such trust that it's humbling, really. If I say to a child, look, make a note of every time that you are anxious, they'll do it, and then I say, okay, now force yourself to be positive and write the positive statement next to it. They'll force themselves and they'll do it. But if I say to an adult to do that, like, they'll say, oh, but it's so difficult to be positive. How can I force myself? But
Yeah.
actually, it's really very easy,
Yeah.
because
The
all you
most,
need to just say, look, force yourself to be positive.
yeah, I mean, the most common
Because
reply will
we
be,
have
you have
two
no
ways.
idea of what I'm going through. You have no idea.
Yeah, 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 I know. They say that a lot. And also, I always say to my clients, look, there are always, and I say to myself a lot as well, and to my own son, that we're stuck in the world in a way. Yeah, we're here, and we are faced with challenges every day, and we're faced with anxiety and stress every day. And so we have two choices. We can either be positive or we can be negative. So whether we're positive or whether we're negative, what's going to happen is going to happen anyway. So
Anyway,
why not be positive and allow it to
yes.
happen,
Yes.
right?
So that is the part about coaching clients, seniors and juniors too. Having said that, we've all been on stage, we've all had those, butterflies in our stomachs. However, many times we have been on stage, but has there been an occasion where, and I'm sure all of us have made those gaffes, you slipped up, you probably said something wrong, or you've given some wrong data point on stage, and you can see it in your audience's eyes or their body language. What is she talking, or what is he saying? Does they even do they even know what they're talking? How do you then bring yourself back to reality? Just let that moment pass and then come back saying, oh, maybe I made a mistake. You either acknowledge it or you just simply move on.
Here again, it depends on the person. I would acknowledge it sometimes and I would just move on sometimes. So it depends on the person and it depends on the situation. But the important thing is for you in your mind to move on.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be replaying that. And that happens to me such a lot, Deepak. Honestly, it's like when I'm talking to people and to an audience, and then there'll be one person who will be looking at me like, with this expression on their face, like, what are you talking about? Yeah. And the funny thing, Deepak, this happened to me recently. And this guy really had this expression of what? Like, I don't understand you at all. And at the end, and I just thought, okay, I'm not going to look at him now, because if I look at him, I'm going to lose my train of thought. So I stopped looking at him and I looked at the other, people in the audience. And he was the one that came to me at the end and gave me good feedback.
Wow.
So, we can be so wrong.
Yeah.
We can be so wrong about what's going on, because sometimes it's what's going on in their heads. He was probably thinking about something, and he had a memory maybe of something that made him make that face. And so we don't know. But I think in the moment, it's good to ignore people that are heckling you. But sometimes if the heckling is a lot, you need to address it as well and say, okay, fine, now that's enough. Yeah. If they're saying something to you that's stopping your train of thought.
Yeah.
But I think it's very individual, and I think all of us have to understand our individuality and embrace it, and know that we have a contribution in this world. We're all contributing in such a big way, and each one's contribution is so important and valid.
I mean, I actually had the two questions in my mind, and we were so much in the flow with your answer that I almost forgot both the questions which I was going to ask you. But let me bring in Payal if she wants to ask you something, and I'll probably recollect what I wanted to ask. Yeah, Payal.
When I just wanted to ask, Edmēe, any difficult situation where you have faced in your life, personally, professionally, any challenges, and how did you overcome it? Can you share?
Lots of challenges actually. When I was 11, I went to a retreat, because I'm born as a Roman Catholic, and we had to go to a retreat when we were little. And the priest was sitting next to me, and he asked me to read something from the Bible, and I really didn't want to read it because I knew I was going to stammer. But I couldn't say no, because sometimes you feel like your throat is just, you can't even say no. I couldn't say no. So I took the book from him, and it took me 10 minutes. But honestly, it felt like 10 hours because I stammered on every single word. But I'm so glad that happened, because I can use that story now to inspire and empower other people to face challenges that are probably not a stammer, it's something else. But you can face challenges in a way that you can think, I can use it later. But as a 11-year-old, I didn't think I could use it later. It was the most horrifying experience for me. And later on, I went and apologized to the priest. And I said to him, look, I'm really sorry that I took on, because I embarrassed you and embarrassed everybody. Was just silent in the room. Nobody gave me eye contact. Nobody looked at me. And that's worse sometimes than, people just looking at you. And he said, I didn't know whether whether the right thing to do was to take the book back from you or to carry on reading. for you to carry on reading. And I thought the best thing to do was carry on reading. And at that point, I thought to him, why didn't you just take the book from me? You know? Um, but I think the most challenging thing for me is actually moving countries and trying to adapt to another way of living and professionally, trying to, because I'm so passionate about what I do that I didn't want to really give up my public speaking side. And for many years, I did. I did other businesses, but I didn't, do public speaking. And I, you were asking me earlier, Deepak, about who's your champion and who is, stood by you. And I think my brother has been really instrumental in making sure that I get back into public speaking. Because even after I had my child about 3 or 4 years later, he used to say to me, "Why are you wasting your talent? Why aren't you doing something? You should go out and do it." And I'd make excuses and say, "No, he's still small. I don't want to." But he's pushed me and carries on pushing me. And I think that's really important for you to find somebody in your life who is your supporter, because when you have that support, you get that inspiration, energy, and motivation, and then you go out and you can do it.
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah.
and this answer gave back that question which I was going to ask you. The question was this, that, a Mendonca from Goa, studied in Mumbai, moving to England. You're not a non-native speaker. English has been your language, and it is easy to move from one part of the world to another. Someone who is a non-native, somebody whose mother tongue is not English, they are now transitioning, probably countries, probably continents, moving, wanting to stand up on stage. Their English sounds different. How easy or how difficult is this for people like them to, be coached, or even make them understand you are good, come on, doesn't matter.
Everything is confidence. Everything is confidence. So people stand on stage in London as in the Professional Speaking Association with Italian accents, Spanish accents, um, American accents, all over the world accents. Yeah. But the thing is confidence. So the Indian accent, it really doesn't, it doesn't matter what accent you have. Have you got the confidence? Are you good at what you're doing? And can you engage your audience? That's the
Yes.
most important thing.
Yeah.
Engagement is the biggest thing, isn't it? Is your audience listening to you? Are they holding on to your every word? And are you authentic?
Yes.
And are you serving your audience? I think if we package all those things, then who cares about how I speak? I don't care. I don't need to be speaking in a British accent to fit in to England, and I don't need to be speaking in an American accent to fit into America. I have to go in with my authenticity about who I am, whether I can speak broken English or I can speak perfect English, doesn't matter.
Yes, we all grew up watching Mind Your Language.
Yeah.
Even today, when I want to have a hearty laugh, I will put on one episode and laugh at the top of my voice, and everybody in the room, in the house, what is this guy, shouting? But Mind Your Language, really, really. I
Yeah.
mean, you telling me about those accents of Italians and Spaniards took me back to that class of Mind Your Language.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. I think
yeah,
it's really nice. It's refreshingly different, isn't it? When
yeah,
like now we've got a lot of people from Eastern Europe, so you'll hear
yeah,
Eastern European accents, Russian
yeah,
accents.
yeah.
The most
Brit- uh,
important thing is have you got a good message, and can you
yes,
engage?
yes, engagement.
Where
That's most
does
important.
uh,
Yeah,
uh,
yes, Payal, go
so,
ahead, ask your question.
so Deepak sir used again have a word in the team, and we would love to have Edmēe in India and Mumbai, and we would love to have her masterclass on speaking with confidence. Maybe we can collaborate with again PSA. She's a part of PSA, so our
Yes,
Yeah.
PSA and Bloom we can collaborate and have a masterclass for her here in Mumbai.
yes,
Absolutely, I'd love that. I come to Mumbai quite often. I came in March. I went to Goa in March,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm coming again in August. So let's plan for August. I'd love that.
let's plan for
Yes.
August. Wonderful,
So
Yeah,
wonderful. Let's
we will
plan.
take this forward.
Yes,
that's
wow.
Hello,
lovely.
Yes.
Yes,
am I
go ahead.
audible?
Yes,
Yes, yes.
Brigadier sir.
So, Edmee is here today because of that. So, when I first was talking to her and she said, I come to Bombay, I'll come in August, can you organize something for me? And I said, PSCI Mumbai chapter for sure. If we can organize some other audience for you, we'll try. And
Definitely.
then I spoke to Payal, and Payal said before she comes to PSCI in August, why not get
Yeah.
her for Bloom? And I said, yeah, that's a great
Yes.
idea.
Yes.
So that has
Yes.
been the sequence of events. So
Thank you.
yes, I think I've already given her that promise that in August we'll make something happen to you, happen
Super.
for you.
Super.
And it'll not only be a PSCI meeting. Edmēe, my promise stands. There's enough time. We'll get you a larger audience than that also.
Ah,
Wonderful.
fantastic.
Absolutely.
I'd love
Wonderful.
that. I'd love that. Because,
Wonderful.
Bombay is where I learned my craft. That's where I learned my craft. So I love Bombay. I love it. I think the people are wonderful and it's just, oh, I'd love to come back. Thank you.
People are nice. Ladies, men are nice. So men are full of spice.
Ladies full of spice. Yeah, I remember that. Bombay
Come to
Meri hai.
Bombay. Come to Bombay. Bombay, Meri hai. Payal, over to you for official closing.
Okay. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, dear audiences, for removing your valuable time. Heartfelt gratitude, Edmēe. You remove time for Bloom and looking forward
Oh,
for your
pleasure.
yet another masterclass here in Mumbai in August. And see you all on 250th live event offline in Mumbai. Do reach out to us if you want to attend. We are almost house full. But still, there are few special invitees left. Do reach out to Deepak sir, Abhijit sir, or me, and we will have you attend our special episode of the 250th Bloom Talk Show and book launch. Thank you so much. God bless us all.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Edmēe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Thank
Thank
everyone.
you.
you.